This is the lecture preparation for the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time. This would be August the 7th, 2016. I'm on page 227 of your lecture workbook. At the beginning, at the bottom of the page, so reading 1, it says, each Sunday's first reading sets the stage for the Gospel by introducing the theme that lies at the center of the Gospel text. Today, preparedness is that theme. In the Gospel, the message is sobering, but the wisdom text celebrates God's readiness for God's decisive action in the Exodus. For centuries, the Israelites languished in Egypt as slaves of their Egyptian masters. All the while, however, they clung to the promises of oaths God made to their ancestors. Despite the passage of so much time and despite circumstances that made fulfillment seem impossible, the people put their faith in God, believing He would be faithful and they would not be disappointed. This faith enabled them to endure hardships. Moses enters the history of the Jewish people as an unlikely hero. He has lived in the royal court as the Prince of Egypt and has no credential other than his assertion that God sent him to deliver Israel from slavery. But because of the faith they had cultivated during their long years of waiting, the people recognized God's messenger in Moses and responded on that fateful night when God sent the plague to each Egyptian home to bring death to each firstborn. But the homes of the Israelites were passed over. In this way, God punished their adversaries and simultaneously glorified the Israelites whom God had summoned. A single act passing through the waters of the Red Sea punished one people and set the other free. You are not simply reciting information here. You are addressing God and remembering God's acts of mercy demonstrated in the foreknowledge given the chosen people and their dramatic rescue through the waters of the sea. Such love is remembered with gratitude. And our liner notes to the left of the reading, it says just that. Begin with a tone of gratitude and prayer. So what they're suggesting is even on the announcement of the reading, a reading from the Book of Wisdom, that you do that with a tone of gratitude and prayer. And in there you wanted to have a sense of awe and gratitude throughout. It's not a long reading, and you will want to have some of the images in your head of the Passover and of their escape through the Red Sea as you read this and as we remember our dual heritage as Christians and Jews. A reading from the Book of Wisdom. The night of the Passover was known beforehand to our fathers, that, with sure knowledge of the oaths in which they had put their faith, they might have courage. Your people awaited the salvation of the just and the destruction of their foes. For when you punished our adversaries, and in this you glorified us whom you had summoned. For in secret the holy children of the good were offering sacrifice and putting into effect with one accord the divine institution. The word of the Lord. Again, as you can see, it's very short, and it's a little bit cryptic, if you will, in that it's hard for us to speak to take this in. This isn't the way we normally speak, so I would go a little slower than what I read right there, emphasizing a little bit more, but to put plenty of spaces in there for the words to penetrate. The reading from Hebrews on page 229. The notes over to the left again, it says, use the greeting to secure everyone's attention. In other words, sometimes, now we often use that word brothers and sisters, and if you look in the Bible, it doesn't say brothers and sisters over and over again. It's just that in our reading we put that in there to give it a context. So, and a lot of times we kind of pass over that, and what they're suggesting here is you really want to get their attention with it. So usually we set the announcement off, a reading from the letter to the Hebrews. Brothers and sisters, and I would put an extra long pause right there, and then you're gonna read this what was called the classic explanation of what faith is, the realization of what is hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. And then there's another line after that. So that's important, just that one sentence. Make sure you really dwell on that. Because of it, the ancients were well attested. And again, that word attested is not one that we normally use, and they've given us that definition. It means given approvement. Because of it, the ancients were commended or given approval. Because of it being faith. That's the theme that occurs over and over. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called. By faith, he sojourned in the promised land as in a foreign country. By faith, he received power to generate, even though he was past the normal age, and Sarah herself was sterile, for he thought that the one who had made the promise was trustworthy. So it was there. Okay, so I'll read this all again. Anyway, so you want to emphasize that by faith. Okay, I'm going to make a call. There is an option for a shorter reading, and my normal way of looking things is that less is more. So what I want you to do is to do the short version. The short version would end after the word seashore, and it would cut the section that said all these died in faith all the way down to the bottom where it says he reasoned that God was able to raise from the dead, and he received Isaac back as a symbol. So I want you to do the short version and find that in the lectionary. That said, I want you to really emphasize this part that is written. So make sure you hammer in that idea about faith. And so let me give you a version that you can begin to prepare yourself with. A reading from the letter to the Hebrews. Brothers and sisters, faith is the realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Because of it, the ancients were well attested. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. He went out, not knowing where he was to go. By faith, he sojourned in the promised land as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, heirs of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and maker is God. By faith, he received power to generate, even though he was past the normal age, and Sarah herself was sterile. For he thought that the one who had made the promise was trustworthy. So it was that there came forth from one man, himself as good as dead, descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and countless as the sands of the seashore. The word of the Lord. Moving on to the gospel now. I am, of course, deacons. You are welcome to make your own decision in this, but I want to make a suggestion that we use the shorter version of this reading as well. The gospel is pretty long. All the words of Scripture, of course, are wonderful. It's just that sometimes, again, less can be more, and it's sometimes easy for us to focus on fewer words than on more. So the shorter version of this one, it begins with Jesus said to his disciples, then skips down to gird your loins, and then it talks about the servants at the wedding, and it continues down, you must be prepared for an hour you do not expect, the Son of Man will come, and then it ends. That would leave out that part when Gospel said, then Peter said. Beautiful readings. I don't want to try and say that there's anything wrong with them. It's just that I think that it will be better having it short. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, gird your loins and light your lamps, and be like servants who await their master's return from a wedding, ready to open immediately when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds vigilant on his arrival. Amen, I say to you, he will gird himself, have them recline at table, and proceed to wait on them. And should he come in the second or third watch, and find them prepared in this way, blessed are those servants. Be sure of this, if the master of the house had known the hour when the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be prepared, for an hour you do not expect. The Son of Man will come. The Gospel of the Lord. So again, we have that theme of preparedness. Thank you all again for your dedication to this ministry, and God bless you all.